Ramaphosa says Russia will consider arresting Putin, a declaration of war. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa said it was too early for the court to find him guilty of arresting Russian leader Vladimir Putin, who was attending the BRICS summit in Johannesburg next month. South Africa's main opposition party, the Democratic Alliance, has asked the country's Supreme Court to force the government to honor the International Criminal Court's arrest warrant against Putin for war crimes during Ukraine's intervention. South Africa is a party to the Rome Statute establishing the International Criminal Court and is bound by its decisions. In his affidavit in response to DA's petition, Ramaphosa said the government was aware of his legal status and was seeking ways to issue an arrest warrant. Putin argued that until he lands in the country, which he will not, he has no responsibility to solve the problem. There is no arresting responsibility, Ramaphosa said. That could happen if President Putin comes to South Africa. Read more. South Africa avoids getting involved in the Russia-Ukraine repression war until South Africa tries to circumvent the law by moving the meeting to China or by arranging it well, but both the option was also rejected by other BRICS members. According to local media reports, Putin wanted to bring his own delegation to the meeting and tied South Africa, including fears it could cause conflict and undermine African leaders' peace initiative in Ukraine. Russia has made it clear that the arrest of President Putin would be a declaration of war on Russia. After issuing the arrest warrant, the ICC itself expressed concern over Russia's nuclear threat. South Africa cannot declare war on Russia. Not because he wanted to. 2015 The International Criminal Court of Pretoria's refusal to try the then Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir caused international criticism. Accused of murder. The South African Supreme Court ruled that the government had committed a crime, and the International Criminal Court said the government had failed to meet its international obligations. The arrest of Vladimir Putin declared war on Russia, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa wrote in court, defending keeping the Russian leader in documents released Tuesday. Putin has been invited to next month's BRICS meeting in Johannesburg, but that is the goal of the ICC petition. If he attends, ICC member Pretoria must abide by these rules. South Africa's social affairs are in court after the main opposition Democratic Alliance, DA, forced the government to work to get the Kremlin leader arrested and sent to the International Court of Justice after the country fell. In an affidavit, however, Ramaphosa called the DA's application irresponsible and said national security was at stake. Russia has made it clear that arresting the incumbent president would be considered a declaration of war, and wrote that it would also affect potential settlement policy. Ramaphosa said South Africa is seeking protection under ICC rules because arrests could threaten the security, peace and order of the country to 7 countries including Kyiv and St. in Petersburg. ICC treaty states that members should consult the court when they see problems that may prevent the execution of the request, and if this would require the country to violate international law, the court will not follow suit. Disease prevention. The untenable argument. South Africa is now the center of the BRICS bloc, a group of heavyweights that also includes Brazil, Russia, India and China, which oppose the East losing its economic dominance. Putin is wanted by the ICC for alleged Russian illegal deportation of Ukrainian children. South African Vice President Paul Moshatil recently told local media that the government has tried to persuade Putin not to come, but has so far been unsuccessful. Ramaphosa's statement, signed in June and initially marked confidential, was released Tuesday following the court's decision to make it public. DA leader John Steenhuisen praised the court's decision, describing Ramaphosa's claims that South Africa was risking war with Russia as ridiculous and untenable. When foreign decisions have the power to damage South Africa's international reputation. South Africa has good economic and commercial relations with America and Europe. Has good trade relations with Russia. Although small, Pretoria's ties to Moscow date back a decade, when the Kremlin-backed African National Congress campaigned for separatism. Commenting on a certificate outside of the Nelson Mandela Day celebrations at the late leader's birthplace, Ramaphosa described the case as a complex diplomatic matter. The arrest of Russian President Vladimir Putin will have the effect of declaring war on Russia if he decides to attend the BRICS meeting in Johannesburg next month. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa said in an affidavit to the court after the main opposition Democratic Alliance, DA, demanded the government to authorize Putin's arrest and extradition. In his statement, Ramaphosa said, Russia has made it clear that the arrest of an incumbent president would be considered a declaration of war. It would be illegal to risk war with Russia. The International Criminal Court is awaiting an international arrest warrant for war crimes from the President of Russia. However, according to recent reports in the South African media, according to sources, Putin is expected to go to South Africa to attend the BRICS meeting to be held in Johannesburg at the end of the 8, which includes Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. In March, the International Court of Justice issued a warning to Putin following the invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, and South African authorities, one of the signatories of the Rome Statute, are responsible for arresting Putin as soon as he arrives on their territory. However, a few days after the arrest warrant, South African Foreign Minister Naledi Pandora announced that the South African government would consult Moscow before making any decisions, and made it clear that the South African armed forces would not be arrested. President of Russia, if in the region. Pandal, criticizing the ICC's decision to publish the indictment, said, South Africa should review the current provisions of our constitution and we should decide in consultation with our colleagues in Russia. This is the double standard of the International Court. He said he tends to focus on some leaders while blinding others. This is not the first time the ICC has ordered South Africa to arrest a foreign minister. Al-Bashir, although the city court ordered his arrest,